Right now, there's a big story at the crossroads of media, politics, and insurrections. Just days after being hired by NBC News, former RNC chairwoman Ronna McDaniel is back on LinkedIn.
NBC News is now cutting ties with the former RNC chair, Ronna McDaniel, days after hiring her as a contributor because of major backlash from some of its biggest anchors.
I find the decision to put her on the payroll inexplicable.
They say that it wasn't because McDaniel is a Republican, but because she helped promote Donald Trump's lies about the 2020 presidential election and assisted in efforts to overturn the results.
Trump posted on Truth Social, "Wow, Ronna McDaniel got fired by fake news NBC. It leaves her in a very strange place. It's called Never Never Land, and it's not a place you want to be."
Never Neverland? Where does that come from? Does Trump think that's an unemployment office for Peter Pan? I mean, maybe Trump sees a kinship in Tinkerbell, in that if enough people don't clap for him, he dies. I don't know. Although Trump can't be too mad about it. The only reason she was available in the first place is that he fired her from the RNC a few weeks ago. But yes, Ronna McDaniel lasted just 5 days at NBC, which is less screen time than dead bodies on Law & Order get. This is sad for Ronna, but also, I don't really give a shit. There's a lot more important things to worry about. I mean, P. Diddy is on the loose. He can be anywhere, you know? But the Ronna McDaniel situation does point to a larger question in America, which is, what should happen with the people who did January 6th? You may remember, back when January 6th happened, there wasn't much of a question about this at all. Everyone who was not wearing horns agreed. The people who did this had to be punished for it. Even the guy who they were wearing the horns for agreed that there had to be consequences for their violent actions.
Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
You hear that, people who broke the law? You're gonna pay for that. So says the person who told you to break the law. It's a bit like Tim Cook coming out and being like, who are these people wearing the Vision Pro? You look like idiots. Okay, so basically everyone agreed January 6th, bad. And justice needed to play out. And the good news is, justice did play out. The fake electors were charged, Trump's lawyers are being disbarred, hundreds of rioters were arrested and put in jail, and it's still continuing today. Just in the past couple weeks, a man was charged for firing a gun during the riots, and a geophysicist who stormed the Capitol was sentenced to 5 years in prison. So, if you ever thought you weren't smarter than a geophysicist, good news. And you know what? If you don't mind, I might indulge. To that geophysicist, good luck using the Siwalik fluvial sequence to analyze remnant magnetization. Now you're locked up, bitch. It's been pent up for a long time. As the wheels of justice turned and life moved on, most people moved on to other things, which makes sense. Other shit happened. We had the rest of the pandemic, there was inflation, 2 famous people decided to date each other. I mean, how could we focus on anything else? We can be forgiven for moving on. But Trump and the MAGA movement didn't forget about January 6th. In fact, they've been rewriting.
And I have no problem saying that these January 6 defendants are being treated like political prisoners of war.
The DOJ is harassing peaceful patriots across the country.
They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol. They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them. They believe in the system.
Convicted January 6 rioter is free this morning, and now they own an honorary American flag, a gift from a Texas Republican congressman. Dr. Simone Gold was released from prison on Friday, and Congressman Louis Gohmert was there to present her with the flag.
you know, I'm no history buff, but she was the loser in a failed insurrection. If you were going to present her with the flag, it probably should have been this flag, I think. No one has reversed his position on the Trump mob as hard as Donald Trump himself. He went from demanding that these criminals go to prison to promising that he's going to get these heroes out of prison.
Trump called those now serving prison sentences hostages and patriots.
You see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, is hostages.
Suggesting he'd pardon them as soon as he gets back into office.
The first day we get into office, we're going to work with the people to treat those unbelievable patriots, and they were unbelievable patriots and are. Release the J6 hostages, Joe. Release them, Joe. You can do it real easy, Joe.
You can do it, Joe. They're hostages, Joe. Come on, Joe. I wouldn't call convicted criminals hostages. Although if MAGA wants to treat them as hostages, we can have a hostage exchange. I'm happy to release them if they can give us the, I don't know, old Kanye back. You know, just spitball it here. But that's how far Trump has gone. He's turning these January 6 rioters into victims and patriots and innocent choir boys. I mean, literally choir boys. There's a group of January 6 rioters in prison who have started a choir, and they released a version of the Star-Spangled Banner that Donald Trump features on. And now Donald Trump's rallies begin like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
That's a dramatic way to kick off an event. At the next Super Bowl, I want to hear, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated Kelly Rowland. She's just as talented as Beyonce. It's not her fault she wasn't as strategic with her career. I mean, look, we can't normalize this. Do you remember when he wasted 3 months of our lives being mad at Colin Kaepernick for kneeling for the national anthem? Now he's saluting rioters, insurrectionists, and even worse, a cappella singers. And the f***er didn't even take off his hat. But that's where we are now. And Ronna McDaniel trying to get a job at NBC is just the latest example of Jan Sixers trying to get back into the mainstream. Remember the guy with the horns, the shaman? Guess what he's up to now?
He's been known by many names, Jacob Chanley, Jake Angeli, and QAnon Shaman, among others. But now, Jacob Angeli Chanley hopes to be known by a new name, Congressman.
As a congressman, I will have a platform to highlight not just these problems, but the real solutions that we have to solve them.
Real solutions? What solutions could you possibly have? Social Security is in trouble. Have you tried beating it with a flagpole? Here's the point. This is not just a fight for how to remember the past. The people who did January 6th are trying to get back in power. If they lose, they'll do January 6th again. Hell, if they win, they'll probably still do January 6th again, just for old time's sake. And the rest of us need to decide, are we just going to let them? Are we going to draw the line at treason and tell them that in this country, there is still justice and democracy, and these are the values we not only stand behind, we also salute them. Maybe we can get the original version.